I think it kind of ties into the previous question of, the success that I found from, I guess not really listening to the doubts of others, was that I really led with passion. And I think that's something that people really need to do, is lead with passion. I think passion fuels the dedication to kind of weather any challenges or uncertainties in your entrepreneurial journey. And I think passion inspires so much creativity and drives you to go that extra mile for success. And for me, I'm so passionate about this because I am the customer at the end of the day. I just decided to create this because I had this idea and I was able to do it and make it come to fruition. But I am the customer, so I know exactly what these customers want and what these people want in the space. So I'm acting as their soundboard to be able to bounce ideas off of each other and to do it and to create something that's very special. And I'm just so passionate about it. And everyone that comes in the doors of Artist House sees my passion and sees how excited I am.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Matthew Perlman, and Matthew started his journey growing up he was a creative and an artistic type, and so went off and got some degrees, including a master's in accounting, and then went off to work in the fashion industry for Ralph Lauren after graduation, and then got worn out of the corporate industry and wanted to do something more creative. So wanted to do a creative or be more creative and do a side hustle. But New York was pretty expensive to try and do that. So started the current business, which is Artistic House, to provide a place for creatives to pursue their different passions. And so launched just this last August, and has several members that have joined on board and been doing it ever since. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Matthew.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I just gave a quick walkthrough to along your journey. So why don't we rewind and unpack a bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started, growing up, kind of being a creative and artistic person, and how that shaped your pursuits.
Yeah, so I have always been an artist at heart, and I've always been a creative at heart. But when going to school and thinking about my education, I wanted to focus my educational, I guess, path towards something a little bit more business focused to set myself up for success in the future. So I decided to pursue a master's of accounting, studied all the types of different aspects of business. I majored in marketing from Tulane University, but always knew I wanted to kind of pursue a creative outlet in any capacity. So after college, after interning at a few accounting firms and a few marketing firms, I knew that I wanted to get into the fashion world because I thought fashion was something that was very creative, very hands-on. So I decided to work at Ralph Lauren. I was doing their window design and their store design. And as creative as it sounds, and yes, there were aspects of creativity, there was still this idea that you were working for a big corporation at the end of the day. And working in big corporate you get a little bit lost. You end up being a very small fish in this big pond. And I was always born and ready to be a big fish in a small pond and really take on certain aspects of creativity and creative direction and art direction in my own hands. And always had this entrepreneurial spirit to try and create something for myself. Whenever I kind of had some sort of creative block at my job, I always reverted back to painting. I've been painting since I was a child, and painting has always been, again, my outlet for creativity and for my own autonomy when it comes to my creativity. So I set out to find a studio that was in New York City. And obviously, being in New York, the rents are extremely high, and everything is pretty much unaffordable at this point. And I was searching and searching, and everything that I found, I would be pretty much taking out another lease on an apartment, or I'd be commuting, an hour and a half to a studio that I would probably never go to because again, I had a full-time job at the time. So I kind of conjured up some ideas and I was like, why doesn't this exist? Why isn't there a space that's both affordable, easily accessible to any person in the arts industry? I think the art world, I'm speaking solely from being an artist myself and from a passion for the arts. I think the art world can be a very lonely place because you're in your studio a lot of the time by yourself. A lot of people have made makeshift studios in their own apartments. And again, being very small apartments, you're kind of locked to a corner in your studio and into your apartment, and it's very lonely, and you don't get to interact much with the art world unless you're connected to these big galleries or these big players in the art industry. So I set out to create this members club and this community driven space that is dedicated to artists for artists that are trying to pursue their fine art passions, their fine art careers. It kind of depends on what everyone's looking to get out of the space. We have people who are working in a very full-time capacity, who are full-time artists, and people who just want to mess around on the weekends and explore some other outlet for creativity. So I
Now,
started art. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So now, just where maybe one quick in. So you were working at Ralph Lauren at the time. Are you still working there? Is this hey, because
No,
you kind of
so
mentioned you were passionate about wanting to get back in the creative aspect and painting and a lot of those things, and so that was kind of genesis for it. And so the question was, sometimes you're saying, hey, I just want a place that I can go and unwind and produce and have that, and I'm still going to have my full-time day job that pays the bills. And other times you're saying, hey, I've just burned out of the corporate culture and I want to go do this full-time, kind of what may. And so walk us through a little bit as to what was that progression as you were working at Ralph Lauren.
yeah, so actually the start of this happened in 2019. I started conjuring this idea. Again, I had been at Ralph Lauren for a little bit of time, and I started playing with the idea of just painting on the side, just as a passion of mine, not even thinking about the business aspect and not even thinking about becoming an entrepreneur in this kind of field. I was just looking to find a studio space for myself, and obviously saw a gap in the market. So I set out to kind of create this while I was working alongside Ralph Lauren. COVID obviously happened and put a bit of a halt on co-working and a bit of a halt on my plans specifically. Then I got back into my job. I was furloughed for a little bit, got back to it, and had since left Ralph Lauren. I worked for another small fashion brand based in New York, and was there for about a year, but always kind of had this idea in the back of my head. And then this past December, I was just feeling completely stuck. And I was talking to my aunt. We were on a trip, and she was like, I really like that idea that you had, that art studio idea. And I was like, so did I. I don't know why it kind of fell to the wayside. So I started kind of bringing up all my old spreadsheets, all my old documents, everything that I kind of put all the research into back then, and started grinding. And again, working full time, and never really always had the intention after I started picking it up with a little bit more speed and a little bit more focus. Always had the intention of leaving my job, but it took a little while. And then, with this model, it was a great idea, but then I needed to find a space. So I signed a lease in May, and then in June I actually put in my 2 weeks and I left the company, and I've been full time with Artist House ever since. So it was, at the time, working in tandem, it was great, and I was able to, any downtime I had, I was focusing on Artist House, and I was focusing on what we were doing and what we were pushing and designing the space and member outreach and market research and asking the community what they needed and what they wanted, because I wanted to launch this for as much success as possible and with as much success as possible, so it would be the best it could be right when we launched. And we officially launched in August 1st, and it's been great ever since. It's been a really amazing experience being part of this, building this community, having people to bounce ideas off of, seeing these artists connect. It's really been amazing.
Well, that's awesome. Sounds like it's been a great opportunity. So now, so you jumped over, I think you said full time around August, and so you've been at it a couple of months. And I think when we talked a little bit before, you brought on a few, members or clients or customers or whatever you would like to call them. Now, kind of walk us through, how has the progression been as you've done that full time? Has it been one where a lot of interest, a lot of paying clients, and you're scrambling to keep ahead of it? the one where it's kind of been a slow growth, or it's been evolving, or too early to tell, or kind of walk us through that just a bit more?
Definitely a slow grow. I think I had a few members that I had reached out to over the months that I was kind of doing a lot of my market research, and they had told me that they were moving to New York in August, or they needed a space in August. So I pushed myself starting when we signed the lease to build the space and create the space and make sure that it was ready and up and running for August. And within our first week, we had about 6 or 7 members, which was amazing. And then it's kind of been a bit stagnant in terms of members. We reach out to different people a lot. I host a lot of different tours. People are telling me it's, after the holidays they'll join, or they're, looking to do it for a week or a month. And, it's been pretty slow, but it's, with anything, time will tell and time will grow. And I'm working on a lot of my marketing plans and a lot of more outreach and a lot of ways to kind of push out what we're doing and make it known in the art community. So it's taking time, but it's, of the 6 members that are currently part of Artist House, they've been very excited about the opportunity to be part of it. And they're excited about the future that holds for Artist House, because there are a lot of plans in the future to implement so many different aspects of the business, whether it's just member retention, but it's also all of the programming that we'll offer. So everyone's very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. And it's been great. Having this kind of stagnant period right now, or the slower periods, hasn't really deterred me away from anything. If anything, it's pushing me even harder to get the word out and get our mission out to people, to as many people as possible.
Sounds like it's a fun path to be on, and lots of exciting things to come. And with that, kind of now, if you're looking at kind of the next 6 to 12 months, as far as kind of where you see things headed, what direction you might head, or kind of how things will evolve, kind of where do you see that next 6 to 12 months going for you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we're trying to get as many members as possible, as many people in the door. I think having our monthly members is great. I think having people who just want to stop in for a day, for a week, kind of just to show their face and see the space and really settle into the space, I think that's really the goal for the next 6 to 12 months. And then, like I had mentioned, I tell all of my members, it's about, Artist House is 70% studio space and 70%, focused on you creating your art and doing your art. But then there's this other 30% that I'm willing to push and I want to push, which is all of the programming efforts. So it's hosting different classes, it's hosting different exhibitions, different gallery openings within the space, hosting talks, hosting opportunities for the community to really be part of it and part of Artist House as something that they can really dive into and feel like they're part of something bigger. I think that's something that we're going to be focusing on a lot, and implementing that into the space and getting people to participate in all these events and all these activities, because I think that's what will drive a lot of people to the space. Because some people are a little skeptical about joining an art studio, or they don't think they're good enough, or they think they're just, oh, it's just a side hustle, or it's just something that I like to do on my spare time. But getting some people in the door, even if it's for one night, for a one night event, let's say it's a painting class or an instructor-led class, I think that's an amazing opportunity for people to just engage with any community. So to have them be part of it, no matter who you are, no matter what type of artist you are, even if you're not even an artist, I think that's what we're trying to gain over the next 6 to 12 months, is getting people in the door, no matter who you are and what you're trying to do in the space.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a lot of exciting things yet to come. Sounds like there's some fun opportunities, and definitely it'll be fun to see how things can continue to iterate and evolve. So awesome. And with that, now as we are kind of reaching the present day of your journey, and even looking to a bit into the future, so where things might be headed, great time to transition to the 2 questions I always like to ask at the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What did you learn from it?
I think the worst decision I've made back at the beginning of working on this and planning this was that I was asking too many people for their opinions about it and listening too closely to what they had to say. And I think obviously it's essential to kind of consider all the constructive feedback that people have to give and all the advice. But, with all of the focus on that, it kind of made me doubt if this was possible and if this was something that could really be successful. And I do think that, looking back on that, it's so important to maintain the balance between being open to feedback and really staying true to my vision and staying true to what I was excited about in creating this. Because at the end of the day, I'm just an artist who wanted to start painting and wanted to find a studio space, and I was excited about it. And I knew that there was this gap in the market, and I knew that there was an opportunity for me to meet other like-minded artists who wanted the exact same thing as me. So I started really pushing this idea of what we were doing out. And I started asking a lot of my friends and family and people that didn't really know the idea or didn't really get the idea. So there was a lot of doubt that was coming with them because I think there was a lot of loose ends that I needed to tie up. But I was just so excited about it and so excited to pursue this in any capacity that I kind of threw caution to the wind, and I was like, you know what, let's just do it. I'm going to do it. I want to make this as successful as possible. And I'm just not going to listen so closely to what everyone has to say, because I think, I need to trust my instincts at the end of the day and have confidence in what my abilities are to make this successful. So I think right now that's probably the worst decision. And, you know, the silver lining was the good that came out of it was that I was able to create this, and I'm still able to really make this something that's very special and worthwhile.
Awesome. No, and I think that's always a balance in the sense that you want to get the feedback, you want to hear what other people have and insights, because it can be something that's helpful to the business. But yet, by the same token, if you are listening to everybody else, sometimes it will take you or lead you astray from where you were intending to go and what the original vision was, and it can muddle the message or otherwise evolve it into something that isn't what you're wanting or isn't what you're excited about. So it's kind of that balance. So it's definitely an area where easy to make a mistake or easy to make mistakes, but great ones to learn from.
Yeah.
Second question now that I like to ask. So now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what'd be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
I think it kind of ties into the previous question of, the success that I found from, I guess not really listening to the doubts of others, was that I really led with passion. And I think that's something that people really need to do, is lead with passion. I think passion fuels the dedication to kind of weather any challenges or uncertainties in your entrepreneurial journey. And I think passion inspires so much creativity and drives you to go that extra mile for success. And for me, I'm so passionate about this because I am the customer at the end of the day. I just decided to create this because I had this idea and I was able to do it and make it come to fruition. But I am the customer, so I know exactly what these customers want and what these people want in the space. So I'm acting as their soundboard to be able to bounce ideas off of each other and to do it and to create something that's very special. And I'm just so passionate about it. And everyone that comes in the doors of Artist House sees my passion and sees how excited I am. So when passion kind of becomes the driving force behind every decision and action, it really lays the foundation for a business that's not just successful, but it's very fulfilling, deeply fulfilling, and very purpose driven. So my one piece of advice would be to lead with passion and don't let what anyone has to say kind of deter you away from that.
No, it definitely makes sense. And I think, there's always that balance. You can be passionate about something, and if it had zero market viability, it's probably not something you should focus on, at least for income source. But by the same token, if all you're doing is focusing on the income source and having the ability to make lots of money, you're going to find that you're either burned out or not. You don't enjoy what you're doing. You're otherwise going to lead you to a path that's not long-term sustainable. So I think that's a great kind of find where your business meets passion and to that balance, and be able to enjoy life and enjoy what you do is definitely a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
Well, now as we do wrap up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah, you can go to our website. It's www.artisthouse.nyc.com. It's ARTISHOUSE NYC. We're also on Instagram and TikTok @ Artist House NYC. So check us out. Shoot me a message on any of our social platforms. We have a lot of info calls that I'm scheduling with any potential new members. But I just want to talk to as many people that are excited about this as I am.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, make a new connection, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank
Exactly.
you again for Matthew for coming on the podcast. It's been a fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you, the listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So let's go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents, trademarks, or anything else for your startup, your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Matthew, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much.